Hi everyone, welcome back to our video notes. Today we're going to do J4 of Unit 1 on expressions. Today we're going to be focusing on the use of distributive property and how we use that to simplify algebraic expressions. Before we move on, just a quick reminder, you are having your unit test on September 17th. So that's about a week away, a little more than a week. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so let's get started. So the distributive property is basically multiplication that was distributed over either some kind of addition or some kind of subtraction. And what you're always going to see it with is parentheses or some kind of grouping symbol. Well, not some kind. Specifically parentheses or brackets or braces, something like that that doesn't have an additional purpose. Square roots and absolute values, those have additional purposes, so you never distribute over those. Just most of the time it's going to be parentheses. So here we go, the distributive property. These are a bunch of examples. So the product of A and the group B plus C, when you have that, that means you can actually take the A in the front and multiply it with each component or each term within the group. So it would be A times B plus A times C. And that multiplication can either be in the front of the group or behind the group, and it still means the same thing. You'd still distribute. So that's over addition, when there's addition inside the group. It can also be done over subtraction in the group. Now, this could be a little tricky because you're going to need to remember that that subtraction sign is really adding a negative. So you got to keep in mind that that minus sign should really be with the second term. Let's see there. So again, you go ahead and multiply by each term, and that could be either in the front or in the back of the group. Let's look at an example. We have to simplify the expressions. So here we have 1 plus 2n times 8. Okay? So that 8 on the outside is going to be distributed to each term inside. So the very first thing I need to do is identify the terms. So here I have addition, so that means the 1 and the 2n are my two terms. So those are the things I'm going to multiply with 8 on the outside. So 8 is going to get multiplied with 2n as well as the 1. Okay? And then I'm going to go ahead and write it out and move it apparently, just so we can see what's going on. This, I understand if you already know how to do it. You might do this in your head, you might do it in the calculator, which is fine. So we have 1 times 8, and then 2n times 8. So 1 times 8 is pretty easy. It's just going to give us 8. Now here, 2n times 8 means you're just multiplying the numbers together, so the coefficient with that 8. So 2 times 8 really means you have 16n. Okay, so 8 plus 16n, and those are not like terms, so that's as far as I can go. Here's another example. We have negative x minus the group 3x plus x squared. So there's no number being multiplied with the group that we can see. But really there actually is. It's that invisible 1 there. So what's actually getting multiplied with that parenthesis group is a negative 1. That's what I need to distribute to both the 3x and the x squared. Those were my two terms. So I'm going to multiply negative 1 times 3x and the x squared. This negative x on the outside is going to stay there, okay? It's not what's getting multiplied with the parentheses, so it's just hanging out in the front until we get another term. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply it out. And again, I'm just going to write it out so I can see the multiplication, and then I'll do it. So negative x is still hanging out in the front. So that's one of my terms. I've got negative 1 times 3x plus negative 1 times the x squared. So now I'm going to go ahead and multiply. So I've got negative x, which is really a negative 1x, plus a negative 3x plus a negative x squared. Now here I actually do have like terms. I have a negative 1x and a negative 3x. So those are going to get combined. Negative 1 plus negative 3 really means I have a negative 4x plus that negative x squared on the end, because I didn't have any like terms with it. Now, we talked about these double signs. They're not really the best way to leave your answer. So when we say plus a negative, we really mean we're just subtracting. So we can rewrite it just with a big subtraction sign. So negative 4x minus x squared would be our final answer. Okay? So moving on to our next one. You guys are going to try these on your own. Okay? And if you need to, you can pause the video. You can come back to it at the end, but please make sure you do this. We will go over the answers next class. Now, I know we kind of already did a little bit. We did distributive property and then some combining, but now we're going to do a little bit more. Okay? We've learned how the different parts of simplifying an algebraic expression using combining like terms and using the distributive property. But most of the time, you're going to have to do both in one problem. So when you have to decide which one to do first, there's always there's a order that we're going to go in. So first thing we're going to do is distribute. Make sure we get rid of those parentheses first. Next, we're going to combine our like terms. Because after we distribute, then we actually know what our terms are, and we can look for any like ones. Okay? So here's our first example with it. We've got 2 times the group negative 2 minus 5q plus 8 minus 3q plus y minus 3. So this is 2 different groups going on. So with each parenthesis, I'm multiplying by a different number. So this one's being multiplied by 2. So that 2 is going to get multiplied with the negative 2, with the negative 5q, and with the 8. Okay? Here, we don't really have a number, we just have a minus. But really that does, we do have a negative 1 there. That invisible 1 we have to write in. So we're going to multiply negative 1 with 3q, with the y, and with the negative 3. So this is what it would look like if I did my multiplication. I just rewrote it with the multiplication. 2 times the negative 2, 2 times the negative 5q, and 2 times 8. And then negative 1 times 3q, negative 1 times y, and negative 1 times negative 3. So now I'm going to go ahead and do this multiplication, and then just write out all my terms that I get. Okay? So negative 2 times 2 gave me negative 4, 2 times negative 5q gave me negative 10q, 2 times 8 gave me 16, negative 1 times 3q gave me negative 3q, negative 1 times y gave me negative 1y, and negative 1 times negative 3 gave me positive 3. Now I'm going to look for any like terms. So here I have a negative 4, meaning that there's no variables going on. So I have a 16 that's like it, and a 3 that's like it. Next, I have the negative 10q, and I have the negative 3q that I can combine. And finally, I just have this one lone negative 1y that can't be combined with anything, but I need to remember to put it at the end. So now I'm going to combine my like terms. Negative 4 plus 16 gives me 12, plus 3 gives me 15. Negative 10 plus negative 3 gives me negative 13q. And then I've got the negative 1y. So once I combine my like terms, these are my new terms. Now the only thing left I need to do is I'm just going to get rid of these double signs. Okay? So plus a negative really means I'm subtracting, plus a negative means I'm subtracting. And since the coefficient was 1 here, I just made it invisible again. But you can leave it as a 1, that's totally fine. Okay? That was a lot going on, but we were able to narrow it down. Strongly recommend using color coding or shapes to really get your like terms. Really recommend these arrows to make sure you're actually distributing to everything you need to distribute to. Okay? And you guys are going to try this last one on your own. We'll go over it next class. If you have any questions, please write them down. But other than that, that's it. Have a great day. Bye.